In the year 2387, Earth was no longer alone. Humanity had joined a vast network of civilizations scattered across the stars, united under the Galactic Concord, a treaty that had kept peace for over 4,000 years. The Concord wasn't just a piece of paper. It symbolized trust, cooperation, and shared progress. For centuries, humans and aliens worked side by side, trading technology, ideas, and culture. It seemed like nothing could break the bond between Earth and its galactic neighbors. But on a quiet Tuesday morning aboard the space station, Solace, things took an unexpected turn. Liam Carter, a junior communications officer in his mid-20s, sat at his post monitoring routine transmissions from nearby sectors. His job was simple: listen for anything unusual and report it to his superiors. Most days were uneventful, just static and the occasional message from passing ships. Today, however, would be different. As Liam adjusted the frequency dials, a faint signal caught his attention. At first, he thought it was interference, but as the transmission grew clearer, his heart began to race. The voice speaking was unmistakably alien. It belonged to the Zinari, one of humanity's oldest allies. Their language was melodic yet sharp, and Liam had heard recordings of it during training. What made this transmission alarming was its tone. It wasn't friendly or neutral. Instead, it carried an air of authority and anger. Liam leaned closer to the console, straining to understand the words. The automated translation system kicked in, converting the alien speech into English almost instantly. The message was short but chilling. To the people of Earth, we declare the end of the Concord. Your arrogance knows no bounds, and your expansion threatens our sovereignty. We will reclaim what is ours. Prepare for war. For a moment, Liam froze. He replayed the message twice to make sure he hadn't misunderstood. War? With the Zinari? That didn't make sense. They had been allies for thousands of years. Why would they suddenly want to fight? Shaking off his disbelief, Liam pressed the comm button to alert Commander Olivia Hayes, his direct superior. "Commander," Liam said, his voice trembling slightly. "You need to hear this." Moments later, Olivia appeared in the control room. She was a tall woman in her late 30s with sharp features and an authoritative presence. Her dark hair was tied back neatly, and her uniform bore the insignia of a seasoned leader. When Liam played the recording for her, she listened intently, her expression unreadable. When the message ended, Olivia frowned. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, glancing at Liam. "Yes, ma'am," he replied quickly. "I double-checked the source. It's authentic." Olivia crossed her arms, deep in thought. This couldn't be real. Or could it? The idea of war with the Zinari felt absurd. Over the centuries, their relationship with humanity had been built on mutual respect and collaboration. True, there were occasional disagreements, but nothing serious enough to spark conflict. Something wasn't adding up. Before making any decisions, Olivia ordered the cryptographers to verify the authenticity of the transmission. Hours passed as experts analyzed every detail. Finally, they confirmed that the message was indeed genuine. Someone within the Zinari Empire had declared war on Earth. News of the declaration spread rapidly throughout the station. Crew members whispered among themselves, unsure whether to take it seriously. Some laughed nervously, dismissing it as a prank. Others looked worried, wondering if tensions might escalate. By the time the information reached Earth, public reaction mirrored the confusion aboard Solace. On social media platforms like Reddit, memes mocking the Zinari's announcement flooded timelines. One popular post featured a cartoon alien holding a sign that read, "Breaking news. Aliens are mad because humans keep stealing their parking spots." Another showed a human shrugging while saying, "Oops, did I accidentally colonize your moon again?" Comments poured in, ranging from sarcastic jokes to outright dismissal of the threat. People found it hard to believe that the Zinari, known for their wisdom and patience, would actually go to war over territorial disputes. Even world leaders struggled to grasp the gravity of the situation. Emergency meetings were held, but many dismissed the declaration as a misunderstanding or political maneuvering. After all, Humanity had done nothing to provoke such hostility, or so everyone thought. Amidst the chaos, Rachel Bennett, a young journalist based in New York City, decided to dig deeper. Rachel had always been fascinated by intergalactic relations and often wrote articles exploring the complexities of diplomacy in space. When she saw the viral memes, she sensed there was more to the story than humor. She started reaching out to experts, hoping to uncover the truth behind the Xenari's sudden animosity. One of the first people she contacted was Dr. Marcus Lee, a renowned xenohistorian specializing in Xenari culture. Dr. Lee agreed to meet her at his office, a cluttered room filled with books, holographic maps, and artifacts from various alien civilizations. As Rachel entered, she noticed him pacing back and forth, clearly troubled. "They're not joking," Dr. Lee said before Rachel even sat down. "The Xenari don't issue threats lightly. If they've declared war, it means they see us as a legitimate threat." Rachel raised an eyebrow. "A threat? To them? That doesn't add up. We've coexisted peacefully for thousands of years." Dr. Lee nodded. "Exactly, which is why this is so concerning. The Xenari are deeply traditional, bound by rituals and beliefs older than recorded history. Something must have triggered this, not just politics, but something rooted in their culture." Rachel scribbled notes furiously, intrigued by the implications. "Do you think we've done something to offend them?" "It's possible," Dr. Lee replied. "Their society places immense value on honor and pride. Even a small perceived insult could spiral into conflict if left unchecked." Meanwhile, aboard Solace, Commander Olivia Hayes faced mounting pressure to respond. While some urged caution, others demanded immediate action. Captain Ethan Ross, head of the Terran Defense Fleet, insisted on preparing for the worst. A veteran soldier with piercing blue eyes and a no-nonsense attitude, Ethan believed in being proactive. He argued that ignoring the threat would only embolden the Xenari. "We can't afford to wait around laughing," Ethan told Olivia during a tense briefing. "If they're serious, and I think they are, we need to act now." Olivia hesitated. Part of her wanted to agree with Ethan, but another part couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. Was this really about territory? Or was there a deeper motive driving the Xenari? Back on Earth, the divide between skepticism and fear continued to grow. Memes still dominated conversations online, but whispers of unease began creeping into discussions. Some pointed out that the Xenari were technologically advanced, capable of wiping out entire colonies if provoked. Others reminded everyone that humanity couldn't afford to underestimate potential enemies. As days turned into weeks, the question lingered unanswered. Why would the Xenari break a 4,000-year peace for war? And more importantly, how should humanity respond? Liam Carter, who had intercepted the fateful transmission, found himself unable to stop thinking about it. Late at night, when the station was quiet, he would stare out the observation window at the endless expanse of stars. Somewhere out there, the Xenari were preparing for battle. Whether humanity chose to laugh or fight, one thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same again. The Xenari declaration of war didn't go away. Instead, it lingered like a dark cloud over Earth and its people. While some laughed it off as a bizarre misunderstanding, others began to feel uneasy. Governments around the world held emergency meetings, trying to figure out how to respond. Military leaders debated whether to prepare for battle or wait for clarification from the Xenari. The uncertainty created a strange tension, a mix of disbelief, fear, and even curiosity. Rachel Bennett spent her days chasing leads, determined to uncover why the Xenari had suddenly turned against humanity. Her article about the mysterious transmission had gained traction online, sparking both interest and skepticism. Some readers praised her for asking tough questions, while others accused her of exaggerating the situation. Regardless, Rachel knew she was onto something important. Her next step was to interview someone who understood the Xenari better than anyone else, Dr. Marcus Lee. A respected xenohistorian with decades of experience studying alien cultures, Dr. Lee had spent years analyzing Xenari history, traditions, and motivations. When Rachel arrived at his office, he greeted her warmly but looked tired, as if he hadn't slept in days. "People keep asking me what's going on," Dr. Lee said, gesturing for Rachel to sit. "And honestly, I don't have all the answers. But one thing is clear, this isn't just about territory." "What do you mean?" Rachel asked, pulling out her notebook. Dr. Lee leaned back in his chair, his eyes distant. "The Zenari are proud, extremely proud. Their society revolves around honor, tradition, and a deep sense of duty. They value stability above all else. For them to break a peace treaty that's lasted 4,000 years, it has to be more than politics." Rachel nodded, jotting down his words. "So, what could have caused this?" "That's the million-dollar question," Dr. Lee admitted. "It's possible they feel threatened by humanity's rapid expansion into space. Or maybe there's been a cultural misunderstanding, something we did without realizing it offended them deeply. Either way, this isn't a decision they made lightly." As Rachel listened, she couldn't help but think about the memes flooding social media. People were making jokes about parking spaces and stolen moons, but the reality seemed far more serious. If the Zenari truly felt disrespected, their pride might drive them to act impulsively and dangerously. Meanwhile, aboard the space station Solace, Commander Olivia Hayes faced mounting pressure to take action. Captain Ethan Ross continued to push for a stronger military response, arguing that humanity needed to show strength. "If we look weak," he told her during another heated meeting, "they'll see us as easy targets." Olivia wasn't convinced. She believed rushing into conflict could make things worse. "We don't even know why they're doing this," she countered. "What if it's all a big misunderstanding? Shouldn't we try talking to them first?" Ethan frowned. "Talking takes time, and time is a luxury we might not have. What happens when they attack? Are we just supposed to sit here and hope they change their minds?" Their disagreement reflected a broader divide among Earth's leaders. Some nations supported Ethan's call for preparation, urging the deployment of fleets and weapons. Others sided with Olivia, advocating for diplomacy and patience. The lack of consensus left everyone feeling uneasy. On Earth, public opinion remained split. Many still dismissed the threat, treating it as a joke. Social media buzzed with humorous posts and sarcastic comments. One viral video showed a man dressed as an alien storming a backyard barbecue, only to trip over a lawn chair. The caption read, "Zenari invasion attempt Damra fail, but not everyone found it funny." Mia Torres, a young engineer stationed at a remote mining colony near Saturn's rings, watched the memes with growing discomfort. Unlike most people, she worked in space and understood how vulnerable humanity's outposts were. If the Zenari decided to strike, colonies like hers would be the first to suffer. Mia had always loved her job. Working in space gave her a sense of purpose, a chance to contribute to humanity's future. But now, she couldn't shake the feeling that danger was closer than anyone realized. Every time she stepped outside the colony's protective dome, she glanced nervously at the stars, half expecting to see alien ships descending from the sky. Back on Earth, Rachel published an article summarizing her conversation with Dr. Lee. The piece highlighted the possibility of a cultural misunderstanding and urged readers to take the situation seriously. To her surprise, the article sparked a wave of reactions. Some praised her for shedding light on the issue, while others accused her of fear-mongering. One commenter wrote, "This is ridiculous. The Zenari are our friends. They wouldn't start a war over nothing." Another replied, "Exactly. But what if it's not nothing? What if we accidentally insulted them somehow?" The debate raged on, reflecting the confusion gripping humanity as a whole. Was this a real threat, or just a bizarre blip in intergalactic relations? Amidst the chaos, Captain Ethan Ross prepared for the worst. He assembled a small team to monitor Zenari activity and gather intelligence. Among those chosen was Liam Carter, the junior communications officer who had intercepted the original transmission. Though Liam was inexperienced, his quick thinking had earned him a spot on the mission. "You'll be monitoring transmissions," Ethan explained during a briefing. If anything unusual comes through, report it immediately. Liam nodded, feeling a mixture of excitement and anxiety. This was his first major assignment, and the stakes couldn't be higher. As he returned to his post, he reminded himself to stay focused. Humanity's fate might depend on his ability to catch the next clue. Days passed without incident. The Zenari remained silent, neither attacking nor offering further explanation. This silence only deepened the mystery. Were they planning something? Or was this all a bluff? Rachel continued her investigation, determined to find answers. She reached out to other experts, including scientists, diplomats, and former ambassadors to the Zenari Empire. Each provided a different perspective, but none offered a definitive solution. One diplomat shared a story about a minor dispute that had arisen decades earlier. Apparently, a human mining operation had accidentally encroached on Zenari territory. At the time, the issue was resolved peacefully, but tensions had lingered beneath the surface. Could this old grievance have resurfaced, fueling the current conflict? Rachel included the anecdote in her next article, which explored potential triggers for the Zenari's hostility. Once again, the piece drew mixed reactions. Some readers appreciated her thorough research, while others dismissed her theories as speculative. Despite the criticism, Rachel refused to give up. She sensed that the truth was hiding in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered. Every lead mattered, no matter how small. Meanwhile, aboard Solace, the crew grew restless. The prolonged uncertainty weighed heavily on everyone, especially Liam. Late at night, he often found himself staring at the comms console, hoping for clarity. Would the Zenari send another message? Or would they strike without warning? Commander Olivia Hayes tried to maintain morale, reminding her team that panic wouldn't solve anything. "We need to stay calm and focused," she told them during a staff meeting. "Until we know more, jumping to conclusions won't help." Her words provided temporary reassurance, but the underlying tension remained. Everyone knew that time was running out. Sooner or later, the Zenari would reveal their intentions, and humanity would have to decide how to respond. As the days turned into weeks, the galaxy braced itself for what might come next. Whether humanity chose to laugh, fight, or negotiate, one thing was certain. The fragile peace that had lasted for millennia was hanging by a thread, and no one, not even the experts, knew exactly how to fix it. The calm before the storm didn't last long. One quiet evening, as Mia Torres was finishing her shift at the mining colony near Saturn's rings, alarms blared through the facility. Red warning lights flashed, casting an eerie glow over the metallic corridors. At first, Mia thought it was a drill, a routine test to keep everyone prepared for emergencies, but when she heard panicked voices over the intercom, she realized this was no exercise. "Attention all personnel. We are under attack. Evacuate to designated shelters immediately," the voice shouted. Mia's heart raced as she grabbed her emergency kit and ran toward the nearest shelter. Outside the colony's protective dome, the once peaceful expanse of space now buzzed with activity. Alien ships, Zenari vessels, moved with precision, firing beams of energy that tore through the colony's defenses. Explosions lit up the darkness, sending shock waves rippling through the structure. Inside the shelter, Mia huddled with other workers, listening to the chaos outside. The Zenari assault was relentless, targeting key systems and disabling communication arrays. For hours, the colony endured the bombardment, its inhabitants clinging to hope that reinforcements would arrive in time. When the attack finally subsided, Mia stepped cautiously outside. The damage was catastrophic. Buildings were reduced to rubble, and parts of the dome had collapsed, exposing sections of the colony to the harsh vacuum of space. Despite the destruction, something about the Zenari's tactics struck her as odd. They had hit hard and fast, but then they left, retreating as suddenly as they had arrived. Confused and shaken, Mia began documenting what she saw. Using her engineering skills, she salvaged a damaged camera drone and recorded footage of the aftermath. The images showed not only the devastation but also the strange behavior of the Zenari ships. Instead of staying to secure their victory, the fleet had withdrawn almost immediately after achieving its objective. It didn't make sense. Back on Earth, Rachel Bennett was working late in her apartment when news of the attack broke. Her phone buzzed incessantly with alerts, each one more alarming than the last. Social media erupted with eyewitness accounts, videos, and photos from the scene. Within minutes, the hashtag #JarZynari attack trended worldwide, overshadowing the earlier memes and jokes. Rachel watched the footage closely, particularly Mia's video, which quickly went viral. In it, the young engineer described the attack in detail, pointing out how the Zinari forces seemed hesitant, almost reluctant, to follow through. "It's like they didn't want to fight," Mia said in the clip. "But they did anyway." Rachel felt a chill run down her spine. This wasn't just an isolated incident. It was evidence of something much larger. She decided to reach out to Mia directly, hoping to learn more. After several attempts, she managed to connect with her via a secure channel. "Hi, Mia," Rachel began gently. "I'm Rachel Bennett, a journalist covering the situation. I saw your video and I wanted to ask you a few questions." Mia hesitated but eventually agreed to talk. Over the next hour, she recounted everything she had witnessed, describing the attack in vivid detail. She also shared her observation about the Zinari's unusual behavior, echoing what Rachel had already suspected. Something wasn't right. After their conversation ended, Rachel sat back deep in thought. If the Zinari weren't fully committed to the invasion, what was driving them? Could there be internal divisions within their empire? Or were they being manipulated by someone or something else? To answer these questions, Rachel turned to Dr. Marcus Lee once again. When she met him at his office, he listened intently as she explained her findings. He nodded slowly, his expression grim. "It fits," he said finally. "The Zinari aren't conquerors by nature. Their society values order and stability above all else. A full-scale war goes against everything they stand for. So why are they doing this?" Rachel pressed. Dr. Lee sighed. "There are two possibilities. Either they believe humanity poses an existential threat, and they're acting out of fear, or someone is pulling the strings behind the scenes." Rachel frowned. "You mean like a rogue faction?" "Exactly," Dr. Lee replied. "History shows us that even the most peaceful societies can be driven to violence if the right triggers are pulled. Someone might be exploiting their fears or traditions to justify this conflict." Determined to dig deeper, Rachel started investigating potential factions within the Zinari Empire. She scoured classified reports, leaked documents, and diplomatic records, searching for any mention of dissent or unrest. What she found was startling. Whispers of a powerful admiral named Cale Vorn, a high-ranking military leader known for his aggressive stance toward human expansion. According to rumors, Admiral Vorn had long opposed the Concord, viewing it as a weakness that left the Zinari vulnerable. He believed humanity's rapid technological advancements posed a danger to their dominance in the galaxy. While most dismissed his views as extreme, some speculated that he had gained influence among certain circles within the Empire. Rachel wrote another article detailing her discovery, highlighting Admiral Vorn as a possible instigator of the conflict. The piece sparked widespread debate, with some readers accusing her of conspiracy theories while others praised her for connecting the dots. Regardless of the reaction, Rachel knew she was onto something significant. Meanwhile, aboard Solace, Captain Ethan Ross received intel confirming the existence of Admiral Vorn and his alleged role in the attack. The information came from a trusted source within the Galactic Concord, adding credibility to Rachel's claims. Ethan immediately called a meeting with Commander Olivia Hayes to discuss their next move. "We need to act," Ethan said firmly. "If Vorn is behind this, we have to expose him before it's too late." Olivia nodded, though her expression remained cautious. "Agreed. But how do we prove it? We can't just march into Zinari territory and demand answers." Ethan leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "We don't need to march. We send a small team to gather evidence. If we can capture Vorn, or at least confirm his involvement, We'll have leverage to negotiate peace. The plan was risky, but Olivia reluctantly approved it. With limited resources and dwindling trust from Earth's leaders, Ethan assembled a strike team consisting of skilled operatives, including Liam Carter. Though inexperienced, Liam's knowledge of communications made him invaluable for intercepting enemy transmissions. As preparations began, tensions aboard Solace reached an all-time high. The crew worked tirelessly, knowing that failure could mean disaster for humanity. For Liam, the mission represented both an opportunity and a burden. He had intercepted the original transmission, and now he was part of the effort to uncover the truth. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders. On Earth, public opinion shifted dramatically as Rachel's articles gained traction. People began questioning whether the conflict was truly justified or if it was the result of manipulation. Memes mocking the Xenari faded, replaced by discussions about accountability and justice. Even world leaders took notice, calling for an investigation into Admiral Vorn's actions. The Galactic Concord convened an emergency session, inviting representatives from both Earth and the Xenari Empire to address the growing crisis. Diplomats argued passionately, presenting evidence of Vorn's alleged involvement while demanding transparency from the Xenari leadership. For the first time, cracks began to appear in the Empire's united front. Admiral Vorn, however, refused to back down. In a fiery speech broadcast across the galaxy, he doubled down on his rhetoric, framing the war as a necessary act of self-preservation. Humanity will stop at nothing to dominate the stars, he declared. If we do not act now, our legacy will be erased. His words ignited outrage among pro-peace factions within the Xenari Empire. Many citizens, horrified by the violence and deception, began protesting against Vorn's regime. Some even leaked classified documents supporting Rachel's claims, further eroding his credibility. As the political landscape shifted, Ethan and his team prepared to execute their mission. Their target was a heavily guarded Xenari outpost rumored to house critical intelligence about Vorn's operations. Success depended on stealth, precision, and teamwork, a tall order given the risks involved. Liam spent countless hours reviewing blueprints of the outpost, memorizing every corridor and security checkpoint. He practiced decoding encrypted messages, honing his skills in anticipation of the challenges ahead. Despite his nerves, he remained focused, determined to contribute to the mission's success. Commander Olivia Hayes addressed the team one final time before departure. "This isn't just about stopping Vorn," she said solemnly. "It's about proving that humanity values peace, even in the face of betrayal. Bring back the truth no matter the cost." With those words echoing in their minds, Ethan, Liam, and the rest of the team boarded their ship and set course for the Xenari outpost. As they left Solace behind, the vastness of space stretched endlessly before them, filled with uncertainty and danger. For humanity, the stakes had never been higher. Whether they succeeded or failed, the outcome would shape the future of the galaxy, and perhaps determine whether the fragile bond between species could survive the ultimate test of trust. The journey to the Xenari outpost was quiet but tense. Ethan Ross sat in the cockpit of their small, stealth-equipped ship, his eyes fixed on the swirling void of space ahead. Beside him, Liam Carter monitored the navigation systems, ensuring they stayed off the Xenari radar. The rest of the team prepared their gear, checking weapons, communication devices, and data capturing tools. No one spoke much. The weight of the mission hung heavy in the air. As they approached the outpost, a massive, jagged structure floating in the shadow of a distant moon, Liam felt his stomach tighten. It looked like a fortress, bristling with defensive turrets, and surrounded by patrols of smaller ships. Getting inside undetected would be nearly impossible, but they had no choice. If Admiral Kyle Vorn's secrets were hidden there, they needed to find them. Ethan gave the signal to begin the operation. The team activated the ship's cloaking device, rendering it invisible to Xenari sensors. Slowly, carefully, they maneuvered closer, slipping past the outer defenses without triggering any alarms. Once they reached a docking bay on the outposts, underside, Ethan ordered everyone to suit up. They donned sleek black infiltration suits designed to blend into shadows, along with helmets equipped with heads-up displays. "Remember," Ethan said as they gathered near the airlock, "we're here for information, not a fight. Stick to the plan, stay quiet, and avoid detection at all costs." The team nodded, gripping their weapons tightly. One by one, they exited the ship and entered the outpost through a maintenance hatch. Inside, the corridors were dimly lit and eerily silent, save for the hum of machinery and the occasional footsteps of patrolling guards. Liam stayed close to Ethan, his heart pounding as he scanned the area for security cameras and motion detectors. Their first objective was to reach the central data core, where sensitive records were stored. According to intel, this was where evidence of Admiral Vorn's conspiracy might be found. The problem was that the core was located deep within the outpost, protected by multiple layers of security. Breaking in would require precision and luck. As they moved deeper into the facility, Liam noticed something strange. Despite the outpost's imposing exterior, the interior seemed oddly understaffed. There were fewer guards than expected, and many areas appeared abandoned or neglected. It was as if the Zainari weren't fully committed to maintaining the station. "Do you think they know we're coming?" Liam whispered to Ethan during a brief pause. Ethan shook his head. "No. If they did, we'd already be dead. Something else is going on here." They pressed on, navigating narrow passageways and avoiding patrols until they finally reached the entrance to the data core. A thick metal door blocked their path, locked with a complex encryption system. Liam knelt down, pulling out a handheld hacking device. His fingers flew over the controls as he worked to bypass the lock. "It's tougher than I thought," Liam muttered under his breath. "Give me a minute." Behind him, the rest of the team kept watch, scanning the corridor for signs of movement. Minutes ticked by agonizingly slowly. Just as Liam was about to crack the code, a sudden noise echoed down the hallway, the sound of boots marching in unison. "Company!" one of the operatives hissed. Ethan signaled for the team to take cover. They ducked into alcoves along the wall, holding their breath as a group of Zenari soldiers passed by. The aliens moved with purpose, their weapons drawn, clearly searching for intruders. For a moment, Liam feared they had been discovered, but the patrol continued onward, disappearing around a corner. Once the coast was clear, Liam returned to the task at hand. Sweat dripped down his forehead as he worked faster, his hands trembling slightly. Finally, with a soft click, the door unlocked. He exhaled sharply, looking up at Ethan. "We're in," he said quietly. Inside the data core, rows of glowing servers lined the walls, pulsing with streams of alien code. Liam quickly connected his portable data drive to the main terminal, initiating a scan for relevant files. While the system searched, Ethan and the others kept guard, ready to defend their position if necessary. But as the minutes dragged on, an unsettling realization began to dawn on them. The outpost wasn't just understaffed, it was practically deserted. Most of the equipment showed signs of disuse, and several terminals displayed error messages indicating critical failures. Whatever purpose this station once served, it had clearly been abandoned long before their arrival. "This doesn't make sense," Ethan murmured, pacing back and forth. "Why would Vorn leave such important evidence in a place like this?" Before anyone could answer, Liam's device beeped softly. He glanced at the screen, his eyes widening. "I found something," he said. "It's encrypted, but based on the metadata, it looks like communications logs between Vorn and some kind." "A secret council. Can you decrypt it?" Ethan asked. "I can try," Liam replied, "but it'll take time." Time was something they didn't have. As Liam worked, the team heard faint vibrations growing louder, ships approaching from outside. Moments later, red warning lights flashed throughout the outpost, accompanied by an automated voice announcing an intruder alert. "They know we're here," one of the operatives shouted. Ethan cursed under his breath. Someone must have detected their presence when they breached the outer defenses. Now, reinforcements were closing in fast. "Liam, how much longer?" Ethan demanded. "Almost done," Liam replied, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "Just a few more seconds." The sound of footsteps echoed down the corridor, growing closer with each passing second. Ethan turned to the team. "Hold them off. Buy us as much time as you can." Two operatives took positions near the doorway, raising their weapons. When the first wave of Zenari soldiers appeared, they opened fire, forcing the enemy to retreat momentarily. But the attackers regrouped quickly, advancing with greater numbers and firepower. Back at the terminal, Liam's screen flickered as the decryption process completed. "Got it," he exclaimed, pulling the data drive free. "Let's go." Ethan grabbed Liam's arm, dragging him toward the exit. Behind them, the remaining operatives fought valiantly, buying precious seconds for their escape. As they reached the maintenance hatch, Ethan paused briefly to ensure everyone made it out alive. "Move, now," he ordered. The team sprinted through the darkened corridors, dodging patrols and returning fire whenever necessary. By the time they reached the docking bay, the outpost was swarming with Zenari forces. Their ship was still cloaked, but activating. Its engines would reveal their location instantly. "We need a distraction," Ethan said, thinking quickly. "Liam, get aboard and prep for launch. I'll handle this." "No way," Liam protested. "I'm not leaving you behind." "You don't have a choice," Ethan snapped. "That data is too important. Without it, we've got nothing." Reluctantly, Liam obeyed, climbing into the ship while Ethan set charges around the bay. As the explosives detonated, creating chaos and confusion, Ethan sprinted toward the vessel, leaping aboard just as the engines roared to life. With the Zenari distracted, the team slipped away, escaping into the vastness of space. Back on Earth, Rachel Bennett received the decrypted files from Olivia Hayes shortly after the team's narrow escape. She spent hours poring over the documents, piecing together the truth behind Admiral Vorn's actions. What she uncovered was staggering. Vorn hadn't acted alone. He had formed a secret alliance with a faction of radical Zenari traditionalists who believed humanity's rise threatened the Empire's dominance. Together, they had manipulated events to justify war, exaggerating minor incidents and fabricating evidence of human aggression. The attack on the mining colony near Saturn's rings had been a calculated move, a test to gauge humanity's response. Rachel published her findings in a groundbreaking article titled, "The Lies That Started a War." The piece exposed Vorn's conspiracy in detail, providing undeniable proof of his betrayal. Within hours, it went viral, sparking outrage among both humans and pro-peace Zenari citizens. The Galactic Concord convened another emergency session, this time with overwhelming support for accountability. Diplomats demanded that Vorn be stripped of his rank and brought to trial. Even moderate factions within the Zenari Empire turned against him, horrified by the lies he had propagated. Admiral Vorn, however, refused to surrender. Cornered and exposed, he attempted to escalate the conflict, framing it as a necessary act of self-preservation. But his own people had grown disillusioned. In a dramatic twist, Vorn was arrested by members of his own fleet, ending the immediate threat of full-scale war. For humanity, the crisis served as a wake-up call. Public opinion shifted dramatically, with many realizing the fragility of peace in a galaxy filled with diverse cultures. Memes and jokes gave way to serious discussions about diplomacy, empathy, and mutual understanding. As the dust settled, Captain Ethan Ross returned to Earth hailed as a hero. Though he carried the weight of loss, including the sacrifice of two operatives during the mission, he remained hopeful for the future. Commander Olivia Hayes promoted him to lead the newly formed Galactic Diplomatic Corps, tasked with preventing similar conflicts in the years to come. Rachel continued writing, using her platform to advocate for transparency and cooperation. Her book, When the Stars Laughed Back, became a bestseller, reminding readers of the importance of communication in an interconnected universe. And Mia Torres, still stationed near Saturn's rings, watched the stars with renewed determination. Despite everything, she smiled. Humanity had survived its first real test of galactic diplomacy, and perhaps, just perhaps, emerged stronger because of it. The arrest of Admiral Cale Vorn marked a turning point in the conflict, but it didn't mean the galaxy was out of danger just yet. While his conspiracy had been exposed, The damage he caused lingered like a shadow over intergalactic relations. The Xynari Empire faced internal turmoil as citizens grappled with the truth about their once revered leader. Protests erupted on Xynari homeworlds, demanding accountability not only for Vorn but also for the secretive council that had supported him. For humanity, the challenge now was rebuilding trust after such a betrayal. Rachel Bennett worked tirelessly to keep the public informed during this volatile period. Her article exposing Vorn's lies had ignited outrage across the galaxy, but she knew anger alone wouldn't solve anything. In her follow-up pieces, she emphasized the importance of forgiveness and cooperation. "This isn't just about punishing those responsible," she wrote. "It's about learning from what happened so we can prevent it in the future." Her words resonated with many, but not everyone agreed. Some humans called for retaliation against the Xynari, arguing that they couldn't be trusted again. Others believed the entire empire should face consequences for allowing someone like Vorn to rise to power. These voices grew louder as debates raged online and in political arenas. Amidst the chaos, Commander Olivia Hayes focused on stabilizing Earth's position within the Galactic Concord. She organized meetings between human leaders and moderate Xynari factions willing to work toward reconciliation. It wasn't easy. Years of harmony had been shattered, and suspicion ran deep on both sides. Still, Olivia remained determined to find common ground. Captain Ethan Ross played a key role in these efforts. As the newly appointed head of the Galactic Diplomatic Corps, he traveled frequently, meeting with representatives from various alien species to discuss ways to strengthen alliances. His first-hand experience during the mission to capture evidence against Vorn gave him credibility, and his calm demeanor helped ease tensions in heated negotiations. But even as progress was made, Ethan couldn't shake the memories of the operatives, who hadn't returned from the outpost. Their sacrifice weighed heavily on him, reminding him of the cost of failure. He often found himself thinking about Liam Carter, whose quick thinking had saved the mission, and possibly humanity itself. Though Liam had survived, Ethan knew the young officer would carry scars from the experience, just as he did. Liam, meanwhile, struggled to adjust to life back on Solace. After intercepting the original transmission and risking his life to retrieve crucial data, he felt like he'd finally earned respect among his peers. But the accolades didn't erase the fear and guilt that haunted him. During quiet moments, he replayed the events in his mind, wondering if there was something more he could have done to protect the team. One evening, while staring out at the stars from the observation deck, Liam was joined by Mia Torres. She had been invited aboard Solace to share her account of the attack on the mining colony and provide insight into Xynari tactics. Though they hadn't met before, they bonded quickly over their shared experiences. "You handled yourself well out there," Mia said, breaking the silence. "I read your report. If you hadn't gotten that data, we might still be in the dark about Vorn." Liam shrugged, uncomfortable with praise. "I just did my job. We all did. I wish it hadn't cost us so much." Mia nodded, understanding exactly what he meant. War always takes more than it gives, even when no one fires a shot. They sat together for a while, watching the endless expanse of space. Neither spoke, but the quiet companionship was comforting. Both knew they were part of something bigger than themselves, a fragile web of relationships that held the galaxy together, and both understood how easily that web could unravel. Back on Earth, Rachel continued her advocacy for peace through her writing. She interviewed survivors of the mining colony attack, gathering stories that highlighted the human cost of the conflict. One survivor, a young engineer named Daniel, described losing his best friend during the assault. "He was standing right next to me when the explosion hit," Daniel recalled, his voice trembling. "One second he was there laughing about some dumb joke, and the next, he was gone." Rachel included Daniel's story in an article titled "Faces Behind the Fallout." The piece struck a chord with readers, reminding them that wars weren't fought in abstract terms. They affected real people with real lives. Public sentiment began shifting further away from calls for vengeance and toward healing. Dr. Marcus Lee also played a vital role in fostering understanding between humans and Xinari. He collaborated with a xenopsychologist to create educational programs aimed at bridging cultural gaps. "We need to learn each other's histories, values, and fears," he explained during a televised lecture. "Only then can we build a foundation strong enough to withstand crises like this." His efforts gained traction, leading to joint initiatives, where humans and Xinari worked side by side on projects ranging from scientific research to artistic collaborations. These small steps toward unity helped mend some of the fractures caused by Vorn's actions. Still, challenges remained. Admiral Vorn's trial became a spectacle, drawing attention from every corner of the galaxy. Prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence of his crimes, including forged documents, manipulated communications, and direct orders authorizing unprovoked attacks. Vorn defended himself fiercely, insisting that he had acted in the best interests of the Xinari Empire. "I did what I believed was necessary to protect our legacy," he declared during his closing statement. "If history judges me harshly, so be it. But mark my words, humanity will test your resolve again. When that day comes, you'll wish you had listened to me." His defiant stance sparked mixed reactions. Some viewed him as a tragic figure, a misguided patriot undone by his own zeal. Others saw him as a dangerous extremist who deserved punishment. Ultimately, the tribunal sentenced him to life imprisonment without parole, citing the irreparable harm he had caused. As news of the verdict spread, celebrations broke out on Earth and among pro-peace Xinari communities. For many, it symbolized closure, a chance to move forward and focus on rebuilding. Yet beneath the relief lay lingering questions. Could another Vorn emerge in the future? How could the Galactic Concord ensure transparency and accountability? Moving forward, these concerns weighed heavily on Captain Ethan Ross as he prepared for his next diplomatic mission. This time, he would travel to a neutral planet hosting a summit aimed at reforming the Concord's governance structure. Representatives from dozens of species planned to attend, each bringing proposals for preventing similar conflicts. Before departing, Ethan visited Liam on Solace. "You've earned a break," he told the young officer. "Take some time to rest. You've done more than anyone could ask." Liam smiled faintly. "Thanks, Captain. But I think I'll stick around here for a bit longer. Maybe help train." "New recruits." Ethan nodded approvingly. "Good choice. We need people like you, people who understand what's at stake." As Ethan left, Liam returned to the communications console. Though the immediate threat had passed, he knew the galaxy would always need guardians willing to listen, interpret, and act when necessary. For now, he was content to do his part, however small it might seem. On Earth, Rachel watched the stars through her apartment window, reflecting on everything that had transpired. Humanity had laughed at first, dismissing the idea of war with the Xinari as absurd. Then came fear, anger, and ultimately, a hard-earned lesson in humility. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but Rachel believed in the resilience of those who sought peace. In the end, perhaps laughter wasn't such a bad response after all, not because the situation was funny, but because it reminded everyone of their shared humanity. Even in the darkest moments, humor could shine a light, offering hope that tomorrow might be better than today. And so, as the galaxy slowly healed, its inhabitants looked to the stars with cautious optimism. They knew peace required effort, vigilance, and sometimes sacrifice. But they also knew it was worth fighting for, even when the battle was waged not with weapons but with words, empathy, and understanding. Months passed since Admiral Cale Vorn's arrest and trial, and the galaxy began to settle into a fragile new rhythm. The wounds of betrayal still lingered, but humanity and the Xinari Empire had taken steps toward healing. Public laughter at the absurdity of the war declaration had faded, replaced by deeper reflections on trust, communication, and the cost of misunderstanding. Rachel Bennett sat in her small office, surrounded by stacks of notes, articles, and holographic recordings. From the past year, she had poured her heart into documenting the crisis, determined to leave a record that future generations could learn from. Now, as she typed the final chapter of her book, When the Stars Laughed Back, She felt a mix of pride and sorrow. The title captured the irony of it all, how humanity had laughed at first only to realize too late how close they'd come to disaster. In the book's conclusion, Rachel wrote about resilience. We often think of peace as something permanent, unshakable, she reflected. But history shows us that even the strongest bonds can break under pressure. What matters isn't avoiding conflict altogether. It's how we respond when cracks appear. Do we lash out or do we listen? Do we build walls or bridges? Her words struck a chord with readers. When the book hit shelves, it quickly became a bestseller, sparking conversations in classrooms, boardrooms, and living rooms across the galaxy. People debated whether humanity was truly ready for life among the stars, or if arrogance and ignorance might one day lead to another catastrophe. Captain Ethan Ross read Rachel's book during a rare moment of downtime. He found himself nodding, along with her insights, especially the parts about listening. As head of the Galactic Diplomatic Corps, he had spent months traveling between planets, mediating disputes and fostering dialogue. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was vital. Every meeting, every handshake, every shared meal brought him closer to his goal, ensuring that no single act of betrayal could unravel centuries of progress. Ethan's latest mission took him to a remote colony on the edge of explored space. The settlement was home to humans and several alien species, including a group of Zenari refugees who had fled persecution following Admiral Vorn's downfall. At first, tensions ran high between the settlers, each side wary of the other's intentions, but over time they learned to coexist, sharing resources and knowledge to survive in the harsh environment. During one visit, Ethan met a young Zenari woman named Sira, who worked as a teacher in the colony's school. She invited him to observe a lesson where students from different species collaborated on a project about interstellar trade routes. Watching the children laugh and argue over their designs filled Ethan with hope. If these kids could find common ground, perhaps there was hope for everyone else. Back aboard Solace, Liam Carter continued honing his skills as a communications officer. Though he no longer faced the same level of danger, he remained vigilant, knowing that misunderstandings could escalate quickly without proper oversight. His role now included training new recruits, teaching them not just technical skills but also the importance of patience and empathy. One evening, Liam joined Mia Torres in the observation deck. They had become close friends since her visit to Solace, bonding over shared experiences and mutual respect. Together, they watched a meteor shower streak across the void, painting the darkness with streaks of light. "You ever wonder what comes next?" Mia asked softly. "All the time," Liam admitted. "I mean, we stopped Vorn, but I don't know. Feels like there's always going to be someone else trying to stir up trouble." Mia nodded. "Yeah, but maybe that's okay. Trouble doesn't have to mean war. Sometimes it just means we're growing." Liam smiled faintly. "That's a nice way to look at it." As the weeks turned into months, Earth itself began to change. Governments invested heavily in cultural exchange programs, sending delegations to alien worlds and inviting ambassadors to visit human cities. Schools introduced courses on xenolinguistics and intergalactic diplomacy, preparing the next generation for life among diverse species. Social media, once a breeding ground for memes and mockery, transformed into a platform for meaningful discussions about unity and cooperation. Dr. Marcus Lee played a key role in this shift. His lectures on Zenari culture drew crowds eager to understand their former allies better. He emphasized the importance of recognizing differences, not as barriers, but as opportunities to grow. "Every civilization has its own story," he told audiences. "By learning those stories, we enrich our own." For Commander Olivia Hayes, the changes were bittersweet. She had spent decades serving humanity, dedicating her life to protecting Earth and its people. Now, as she prepared to retire, she saw glimpses of a brighter future. During her farewell speech aboard Solace, she addressed the crew with quiet confidence. "We've faced challenges most civilizations never encounter," she said. "And yet here we are, still standing, still striving. That says something about who we are. Not perfect, not invincible, but determined. Keep that determination alive, and we'll continue to thrive." Her words inspired cheers and applause, though many in the room fought back tears. Olivia left behind a legacy of courage and leadership, reminding everyone that peace was worth fighting for, even when the battle was waged with words instead of weapons. On Earth, Rachel attended a ceremony honoring those who had contributed to resolving the crisis. Survivors of the mining colony attack stood alongside diplomats, soldiers, and ordinary citizens whose efforts had helped restore balance. As Rachel accepted an award for journalistic excellence, she used the opportunity to thank not only her colleagues but also the countless individuals who had worked tirelessly behind the scenes. "This isn't my victory," she said, holding up the trophy. "It belongs to everyone who refused to give up, to believe that fear and anger would define us. Let's keep telling stories, asking questions, and listening to each other, because in the end, that's what keeps us connected." The crowd erupted in applause, echoing her sentiment. For the first time in a long while, humanity felt united, not just as a species, but as part of a larger galactic community. Meanwhile, Mia Torres returned to the rebuilt mining colony near Saturn's rings. The scars of the attack remained visible, etched into the landscape as reminders of what had been lost. Yet the facility buzzed with renewed energy, its halls filled with workers committed to rebuilding stronger than before. Standing outside the dome one evening, Mia gazed at the stars. Her mind drifted back to the chaos of the invasion, then forward to the possibilities ahead. Humanity had survived its first real test of galactic diplomacy, and though mistakes had been made, lessons had been learned. She smiled faintly, feeling a flicker of optimism. Somewhere out there, beyond the endless expanse of space, countless civilizations awaited discovery. And while the road ahead wouldn't always be smooth, Mia believed humanity was ready to face whatever came next. After, all the stars weren't laughing anymore. They were waiting for humanity to prove that it belonged among them.